item on the agenda is to review the agenda for removal or adjustment of any items. Where do we have it?
Don't think I brought it up with me, but there might be an item to add about approval for a banner across West Street. Does the select board ordinarily approve those? I've gotten mixed information about that.
I think we have in the past. Across West Street.
Yeah, I left it downstairs.
I don't know for what event.
I'd have to get it. We can add it. I mean, if it's something that the select board reviews.
I think we have in the past, but I'm not.
I don't know if we need
When
to.
do they want it? Does it need to be done tonight?
Not necessarily, but it would cut it close for the next one. I can go back. I can get it later.
So where do you want to put it?
Other business.
Other business.
Okay.
Had it with stuff.
And money pen. Oh, great. It's going to write so fine I won't be able to see it. Okay, public forum, opportunity for citizens who are not on the agenda to briefly share concerns about matters not on the agenda.
Don't like the weather.
Okay, that's it?
Don't like the weather, okay.
Oh, all right. We're all set.
So we're going to skip 3 or, yeah, because what time is it?
That's 6 o'clock.
That will be at 6.
So we'll skip that. Turn that off. Review chief job description, job announcement.
So that's in your thing under the paperclip. There's a timeline, a draft ad, and a draft job description that amends or modifies the current one based on feedback from other folks.
So under the qualifications, under number 1, I would like to see bachelor's degree or equivalent experience. I think we could lose some really good candidates if we just, I don't read that.
Oh, that's from Michelle.
Yeah, that's Michelle's right.
But
Yeah,
So bachelor's, so
one-
strike the masters?
no, it's nothing about master.
No, on the, that's
Bachelor's
Michelle's,
degree or
Okay.
master's
but
degree?
if you go to the
yeah, where?
actual description.
Okay, knowledge and experience.
But
Yes,
yeah, look at the one that's
Okay,
got the whole thing.
it's right here. You got it.
yeah.
Where am I supposed to be on this one?
Minimum qualifications.
So you want to strike master's? Keith?
No, but it just doesn't say, the way I read this is if you don't have at least a bachelor's degree, you are not qualified. It doesn't say anything about experience. And I think we'll be losing some very good candidates. I know,
Says down here, additional experience may be considered in lieu of
okay,
degrees.
all
I
right.
was going to say, I thought that was in
But
there.
maybe we should move that up.
Well, yeah, because if somebody's looking, they just read that first one and go, what?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Well, what about changing the word and or?
Could do that.
In number 1?
Well, usually those things read,
Yeah.
experience can be substituted for a degree a
Yes.
lot of times. Yeah.
So if you turn that to or, that would take care of it.
Or you just put at the end of that experience, like you said,
I'd
it can be
like to-
substituted.
Yeah, I would just,
I'd like to spell it out at the end.
yeah,
Substituted.
yeah. So, yeah, just add that, Valerie, experience maybe, okay.
I'm going to just move it from,
And then take it out of the number 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
So scratch 4?
No,
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 just that last
just the
paragraph.
last sentence.
Just the last sentence, yeah.
Okay. Otherwise.
I can tell you that Under minimum qualifications, number 5, I flagged that one as another thing that could limit the candidates.
Well, it says preferred, it doesn't mean it has to be.
Well, I wonder if that needs to be in there.
Could that say continuous full-time service at a credible,
Well, that would be
Please.
number 4, so.
Yeah.
right? Are we
I don't have
yeah,
a
I
problem
mean-
with number 5.
No, I don't either. I don't know if you need to just take out the demonstrated and just ability to prepare and manage.
No, actually talking minimum 5 under minimum qualifications.
Yeah.
This one right here.
Okay.
I'm on the right page for once.
Yeah. Preferred, yeah, I guess preferred is,
Yeah.
yeah. That really limits your candidates.
It really
candidates.
does, and,
It takes it down to 1, I believe.
which is kind of awkward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so I would strike the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with removing that.
I like it.
I would leave part of that.
I mean-
I'd like them to have 5-year continuous
Yeah.
full-time
Yeah.
active
I don't
service.
have- yeah,
And
I don't have a
incredible,
problem with that at
and
all.
certified police department of some.
Isn't that what
some-
number 4 says, though? If you read number 4.
Yeah, number 4 already states that. Legally recognized department.
Right.
And
Yeah.
5 years of supervisory
Supervisory command.
command experience. I don't think 5 needs to be there.
I don't.
I agree.
I think
Yeah.
if you were worried about limiting
Yeah.
on the
Yeah,
first one, 5 years.
preferred gives you an out, but it's still,
Still sends a message.
yes, it does.
I like the continuous.
Well, I think, but as we said, I think 4 covers
I
that.
don't know about that.
15 years.
It could be discontinuous.
Could be, but if you have 15 years' experience in law enforcement.
Is it gone?
Yay.
Yeah, I think it's gone. I mean, the only thing it could be, Ted, is maybe add
Nay.
continuous in number 4 somewhere, but, I mean, if you're going to say continuous, you know,
It's gone.
I mean, 15 years, whether it's continuous or not continuous.
I don't see that
Don't
it's
see that
critical
that's
that
a
it's
problem,
continuous.
Unless there's some,
Now, on that minimum qualifications, number 8, this was added about submitting to drug and alcohol testing, polygraph examination, in-depth background investigation, including personnel records, criminal and civil history, litigation. And I added, and postings on social media.
I don't see anything wrong with number 8.
I mean, you put it in there. If you choose not to ask for that stuff, that's up to us.
Yeah.
But if you don't have it in there, you're going to be.
It says must submit to.
May be required to
Yeah,
submit to.
yeah.
Okay.
And that's not uncommon for law enforcement.
So we're not going to use the word must.
We're going to say may be required to submit to.
So the candidate, we select somebody, then they say, oh, it only said maybe, don't say I have to.
No, it's our
It's our
choice.
It's our choice.
Okay.
I like the must.
School bus driver doesn't say may, it says must. You're hired, you pee in a
Well,
cup.
Yeah, but there's other stuff there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a
Right.
lot, that's an extensive list. I just think that some of it,
We may ask.
We may ask, we may not, we may already know.
You might put something at the end at the discretion of the select board,
Sure.
and that way it kind of covers.
Yeah.
No,
You don't like that either?
no.
I'd
I like
just
must.
wait.
Okay.
You want the job, you will.
Yeah, you will do it.
Yeah. Joel?
I like the word must. I really have to agree with
Michelle?
Ted.
I can go either way.
I don't care. Leave it. Two people feel
I'm
pretty
not set,
strongly.
I'm not set on must, so
Yeah.
I guess it's up to Michelle.
Why is it up to me? I
Well,
said I could go
because
either way.
I don't, well, because then it's 2-2. And if you'd have been definitive, then it would have been up to me to say,
I guess I'm fine with must. I mean, if we're gonna make them do it, we're gonna put it in there, we're gonna make them do it.
Yeah.
do we want the ability to eliminate some of those things, or do you want every one of those things there?
Well, you can say must, and then
submit
at
to
the
one or
end
more of the
say,
following?
At the discretion of the...
at the discretion of the select
Is
board.
that contradictory?
No, I don't think
It's a
so.
sneaky way out.
Yeah,
No, you leave it at must and then put at the discretion of the select board to decide what or not
Okay.
they,
yeah, there you go.
you request them to do.
That,
Joel?
I'm happy with that.
yeah, that circles around.
It does. It
Yeah.
does.
There might
I
be a
don't
couple
see
of
it.
things we already know, so we don't have to ask. On some candidates.
We don't
we
need the
do.
word must then.
Well, if we say they must, they must.
So under additional desired qualifications, Val, under number 1, there's a space on the second line for techniques between E and S. And then my only question is it has the word demonstrated, and I think it should be demonstrate, shouldn't it?
I think it's past,
Right.
past tangible accomplishments.
What they've already, okay, so we're asking for what they've already
In
demonstrated.
their
Okay.
experience.
Yeah, past tense.
Yeah, because they're not gonna be able to demonstrate prior to hire.
Right.
It'll have to be something from the past. Or if they demonstrate prior to hire, it'll have to be something from the past. It won't be something that we're gonna look to do before we hire.
Okay, then my only other comment was on 13 under there, where we say they have to reside within 5 air miles of the Bristol Police Department.
If they fly in.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, 5 air miles is how far out? I mean, I don't know what that is. I mean, can't we
You just
say
look on a map,
some,
a flat
somewhere
plane,
within
and
the
you
5
just do a
towns?
10-mile radius or 5-mile radius.
Or say within 15 minutes of the station or 20 minutes of the police station? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, because depending on where you are, a 5-mile radius could put you.
On my copy, the 5 is crossed out.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what Val and I were talking about, what we wanted to do. Because I said, I have a hard time with saying to somebody, you have to be within 5 air miles, and where does that lead you? And what does that limit us to? You know, I was just saying,
What kind of
within the 5
response, what kind of
towns.
response time are we looking for?
Right,
Yeah.
I know.
I would think no more than 10 minutes, if,
It was 10 minutes from my house to town.
yeah,
And a lot can happen in 10.
that's right.
How many miles?
That's 6 miles. 6, 7 miles.
So you
Okay,
could
what if we
live,
say 7 miles?
well, it's right now.
Well, it
it's-
depends on where you are too.
Yeah.
I mean, there are places that,
I
you could live
understand.
out in the Haven streets or on East Street in the Haven and be closer than living where Michelle is. So I'm not. Where are we gonna go with that?
I just hate to have to limit it to somebody who might be qualified that doesn't live within that frame. And they're not gonna want to sell their house to move within that frame.
well, to me, if community policing is what we're looking for, it's almost imperative that they live in town. I mean, I would hate to, you know, sort of road or East Street. But by the same token,
I'll just make it.
You don't want them up on the hill in Lincoln.
no. I mean, my personal preference would be that they would relocate to Bristol within a certain amount
Yeah.
of time.
This says 60 days,
Yeah.
which is not
Then
much.
60
2
No,
months.
yeah, that's not much
Select
at all.
board
I'd like to see
would
that movie
prefer
pushed out.
that the candidate lives within X number of miles.
Or within the Bristol
Within the town of
town.
Bristol.
Within the town
Yeah,
of
there are
Bristol.
places that you could get that you would be more than 10 minutes from,
Right.
Yeah.
from
Oh,
the
yeah.
station. but,
Oh, yeah.
If you're serving our community
Mm-hmm.
and I just think that you should be closer rather than further.
I agree.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
So then you say resides within the town of Bristol?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
And
could
you
put
have-
you out there a ways, but,
Right.
And what about the 60 days?
Resides within, yeah,
within the town of Bristol.
within, yeah.
It's not limiting it to the police district, but the town.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I was
That's
gonna
what I was,
say 6 months.
Yeah, I'd like to see that 180 days.
Yeah, 60 days is not enough.
Especially if they don't.
If they have to
live in
sell
town.
it, if they have to sell a
Right.
house to buy a house. So what are we going with for days?
180.
Going with 180?
Yeah.
yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Pete, do you think they need to be ICS certified?
Yeah, they do. It's
It's a requirement?
In order to get federal funds, which the fire department applies for.
So what
and
level do they have to be?
I would say a minimum of 300. Yeah.
I think
400, local people really don't need the 400 level. That's for federal stuff.
Yeah, I believe that you have to be 300 in order to be eligible. Certain monies, right?
Yeah, well, yes.
Police officer.
And that's not just Homeland Security and that's FEMA and everything.
I mean, you can
Right.
still achieve.
So is that a minimum qualification?
Yes.
Yes.
And if they're certified, are they certified by the Vermont?
National.
It's through,
Vermont or national? No, I'm not talking about the ICS,
No.
I'm talking about as a police officer.
oh, it's the criminal justice training.
Right. Do they have to be? I mean, that's who certifies them, right?
Yes.
So do we need to make sure they have that certification?
Is that already,
Well, if they've
Level
got,
3 certified or certifiable?
if they've got continuous police service, then they would do, but
Well, if they're
yeah.
not in Vermont.
Oh. Then they would have to,
So where it says,
well,
number
Bruce could
3
answer
says,
that question because did you get
There's a waiver process.
waiver, yeah.
So when you come here, you go through the waiver process. They'll take some of the training from other states.
so you'd say where we have must be level 3 certified or certifiable or go through the waiver process? Does that make sense?
Once you complete the waiver process, then you would be a level 3 certified police officer full-time.
So that statement would be true. They'd have to
They'd
get.
have to be certified.
Should the working condition, I just asked Michelle, should that say this job is a working police chief with management, not police officer? Is there it is a real different between
It
the
is
chief.
the chief we're looking for, not a,
That's why I just asked that question.
But I think, but the way I looked at that was they still have to be a working police officer, like hit the beat, whatever.
Yeah, I think that's important that it's not
Okay.
an administrative position
Right.
only.
Right.
I mean, you could change it to chief, but it's
Well, should we say with
still want to
management
say.
and chief?
what page are you on?
The back page,
Back page.
for the working conditions. Could it say police officer with management and chief's responsibilities and priorities?
I really don't mind the way that's worded.
No, I don't either.
I didn't really want to change it, I just wanted to ask the question, is it correct? Just saying a police officer, not a police chief, that's all I
Yeah,
asked.
because this is, yeah.
With management responsibilities a priority. That's a chief.
Yeah,
Well, it could be a lieutenant, it could be a sergeant.
Okay, this is just working conditions, it's not,
Right.
right, so, yeah,
Okay. Just want to make sure we hit it.
yep.
yeah. But I think it's important that people understand that they do,
Yeah, they're out on the road.
yeah,
Yeah, they're not going to be sitting behind a desk
No,
and
no.
pointing fingers.
no. Wearing a suit and
Take
tie.
call.
Is that a requirement? Is it a requirement?
No, I don't see
Do
it.
they, no, do they need it?
I was just asking Michelle. should it
Bruce,
at
what's
least
the
be
certification for you guys? Do you have to be CPR certified? First aid certified?
To complete CPR first aid training every year.
Okay, so you do have that certification, so that's required.
Yeah, that's required by the Vermont Justice Training Council.
So that's part of it.
Is that EMT training?
It's probably,
First aid.
in with the criminal justice?
yeah, but it's probably something similar, like, I would imagine keeping your police certification is something similar to keeping your level 1 or level 2
Right.
firefighter certification. There's a
Or your
list of,
EMT.
there's a list of stuff you have to do every year in order to be.
Yeah.
For that training, some of it can be, you just watch a video, so you may
Right.
not actually get a certification. In most places, we have somebody from the EMT services come and
Come in.
certify
Right.
for CPR and first aid.
Yeah, because the card's only good for 2 years, so every 2 years you have to take the full.
So it's unnecessary to add that to additional
Right.
desired
It's
qualifications.
part of their criminal justice certification.
And I'm good with your, the ad.
Yeah.
So we added a statement that the hiring process will include initial screening with a 5-member hiring committee and one or more public interviews with the select board.
And this second paragraph, Joel, really clarifies what page you want, the job.
Ad.
I mean, that clarifies what you were,
Big chief.
Working chief,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's the way it'll be advertised, so that when it's read through, the other makes sense.
But working chief could still be sitting behind a desk pointing fingers.
Right. Well, they won't last long if they do.
That last one.
Do we need a motion to accept the job description?
I would think so.
I make a motion, we accept the job description with the changes we discussed.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
We want to speak up, Peter, it's hard to hear.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. All right, we are,
And folks are okay with the timeline?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we're 6 o'clock.
yep,
Well, I mean, for the advertisement,
Right,
recruitment.
yeah. Yeah,
Oh, you're just,
right on the money.
yeah. So we'll resume this.
Yes, we'll adjourn the regular select board meeting to go to the police, yeah,
Police district information.
police district information. Yes, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
yeah.
Any questions, George, about the police budget?
I do. I've got to turn the page. 51.
Why'd you ask George right off?
Because I knew he was gonna have questions.
Hell, yeah.
There's
Yeah,
in your packet.
God, I wish I could see you.
In your box downstairs. Did you not go there?
First one is clerical. Now that's up. Let's see. 4.
The same budget as this. Yeah, right here.
51. Clerical. It was 4,300, and now it's up to
$9,012.
93,
91.70.
91 cents.
91 cents.
How come? That's $5,000 increase. How come?
Not over last year's.
Not over
Last year's was 9,000.
Yeah.
I'm talking about,
George, you're looking
yeah,
at
that's
the,
what your budget. I'm talking about what was actual at the end of last year. That's the column I'm going by, the actual.
Okay.
And this is what you propose for this year, is the 9171. That's $5,000 more. Why?
We don't have an answer for you, George.
You what?
I
You don't have the answer?
We don't have the answer for you. That's the truth. You want us to make one up? We probably can.
I told you that last night when you called me. I said, I don't know why he didn't spend all that. I can
He may
speculate.
have had an overrun somewhere else. And
How about Bruce? Can you tell me?
I think he's looking into it.
I know that from one year, over the past couple of years, Kevin had increased that because he was going to get more of our admin work done by admin people, so the police officers can be out on the street. So they were in the process of trying to figure out what they were going to actually do. So I don't think we saw a full year of using them to the capacity that he wanted to do it. But it's to get admin work done by admin personnel so police officers can be on the street. So I think you'll see it this coming budget as we continue to develop what their job tasks are.
Are they currently being used to the extent that you're going to use the majority of that budget, I guess would be the question.
Yes.
You see, you don't have an answer. Didn't you make up this budget?
We went through it, yes.
You went through it, you didn't make it up. Yeah, and you didn't question the $5,000 increase on clerical for the police department?
I don't remember, George.
George,
We've had so many numbers going through our head in the last 2 months that,
I realize that.
and it may have been the same answer you just got. That may be why we left it where it was. But I can't definitively tell you that. I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you that that's what it was, because I'm not sure.
Okay, well, I didn't get much satisfaction there, so I'll go down to the next one. That is, God, I can't. Health insurance. Oh yeah, health insurance. That is, let's see, 28,000 and 40, that's up 20,000. How come?
I believe we budgeted a family plan for, we budgeted a family plan for the new chief. And we don't currently,
No. Last year, there was only one with a family plan. This year, there's two.
They put you in it.
So there's two with a family plan now,
Oh, okay.
compared to the year before. So that's the increase, yes. Yes.
Okay,
That's a lot more money, George.
Yes.
yeah. Apparently,
It is.
yeah. And the other one is workman's comp. And that was what I asked you the other day, was that you asked me what insurance that was. And I didn't know which.
Right,
which
workers'
that
comp
was.
went down
Yeah.
compared to last year.
Yeah. The other one is workman's comp. That,
the workman's comp, if you remember last year, George, we got hit with that. We had those 3 claims and we got hit with that $42,000 $49,000 bill that was supposed to.
3 years.
For 3 years, well, they dropped it. They didn't charge us $49,000. So
They miscalculated.
Last year.
They miscalculated how much it was going to be last year and corrected it this year. So this is the amount that they're telling
Did
us.
they give us a refund on the overcharge?
No, we just didn't pay. We didn't pay it. When they billed us, it wasn't as much as they said it would be.
Oh, okay. And another thing on the workman's comp, I had somebody mention that instead of that, why don't you go back to I understand Kevin and Josh got hurt on their own property. So, why didn't you go back to their insurance, their homeowners, and bill them for their, what we had to pay them for the wages?
Because they were on duty at the time it happened. So that's covered by workers' comp, and that's why we have workers' comp.
How do you know they were on duty?
They were dressed, fully dressed in their uniform on and
Josh was getting in the cruiser.
Right.
getting in the cruiser.
in or out, one or the other.
In or out.
Yeah. And we did look into that.
Oh, all right, okay. See if I got any more complaints.
They're not
I thought
complaints,
they
they're
were
questions.
Well, they're complaints too.
Oh, okay.
It's too high, but as Bruce says, it's down, I don't know, a percentage from last year. Well, that's all I got to say at the time.
Thank you, George.
All right.
Anyone else? Yes. Go ahead, Valerie.
Could you detail for us the timeline for actually hiring a new chief?
They're right here. Right, chief.
So the deadline for applications is April 6th. April 9th through the 13th, the committee is set to review and screen the applicants. And then after that will be interviews with the committee for the rest by the end of April, and then May 14th, a select board meeting, potentially interview the 2 finalists and select a candidate and make an offer. Somewhere in here, I'm guessing it's between. This is where we're going to do the
May 14th. May 14th. We'll do the public.
So May 14th will be the public interview, and then we'll make a job offer after that. So
May 14th will be a public interview? The public will interview the candidates?
that is
The
correct.
select board and the public.
The 2 finalists?
That was one of the requests made by the public, was that they get to have a crack at these guys or gals before we hire them. So
So is it your intention that the new chief will be in position for the new fiscal year? Is that the
that is our goal. That's where we're budgeted to take it on.
I just want to point out that we have a personnel policy that has all of your signatures on it that says that we will hire from within whenever possible. And while I understand the whole process, I feel like it's been lengthy, and we have an employee that has demonstrated the ability and the willingness to take this position, and I'm confused as to why this process has gone on so long.
I think part of it is budgetary. We didn't have the money for the position with what we had going out. And other than that, I would have to agree with you. It's been drug out a lot longer than what we would have liked it.
Yeah, it just feels it feels like a long period of time without a chief of police, and it feels like a long period of time to ask someone to assume the position within our organization, when we have a written policy that says that we will hire from within whenever possible. I guess it's my personal opinion, but I feel like this process maybe has taken longer than it should have. And to follow up, that's just my opinion, to follow up on something that you said we didn't have the money to hire the position, but where did that money go? We had a budget for Kevin for the entire fiscal year, and he resigned, so why did we not have the money to hire a new chief?
Retired.
Oh, okay.
Where did that money go?
We had to pay him
vacation,
his
sick
vacation,
time.
sick, and
I mean,
all that.
he got almost 4.
I mean, we weren't prepared. You know, he decided to retire after our budget, so.
I didn't think about it in terms of the benefits that you would have paid out that he had not used. So thank you for clearing that up for me.
Ron?
Question on the salaries. Quick math, the $160 some odd thousand dollars that was there, and I divide it by 3, which we have right now is roughly 51 to 53,000 a year. That tells me you didn't budget for a 4th person. So, with that said, if you go out public, you hire X off the street, you don't have money to pay X, or you got to lay somebody off that's already on your staff. Or am I not reading the numbers right?
We had the discussion last meeting.
We had this discussion last meeting, and we came to the consensus that no one, if we ended up hiring from outside, no one that is here currently is going to lose their job, that it would be the responsibility of the new person to make sure that the numbers work, whether it be cutting out any part-time labor or something of that nature, or, you know, limiting the amount of overtime. That was a question I asked at the last meeting, and the consensus was that nobody was leaving. And you're absolutely right. We had, Bruce spent a lot of time compiling 2 budgets for us. One was a 4-person and one was a 3-person. And we just didn't feel we could justify the increase to do 4, but if we end up with somebody else, then we're gonna have to make it work.
Somebody's going to take it in shorts. I mean, you didn't have foresight enough to hire the 4th person in case. Or, back to what she was saying, you could have hired from within based on your own policy, it'd be a non-issue. And I'm not opposed to any one of the 3 being the chief, but I mean, listen to you, you're going public, and maybe we don't have to. We're not budgeted for the 4th, and I think your board's going to have egg on their face if somebody is selected from outside and you ask the 3 to stay, and oh, by the way, you got to take a reduction in pay, and you got to cover all the shifts that are going to be cut out by the part-timer.
No, I mean, we were looking at it, Ron, is that if we had 4 people on, then the overtime would be reduced because there'd be that 4th person where normally we would put a part-time person in, or one of the current ones would have to be working overtime. So between the part-time salaries and the overtime salaries, that 4th person would be paid.
Thank you.
That's the plan.
Pete?
Oh, Pete, I'm sorry. Actually, I wanted to let Ron know that there is $20,000 there for part-time salary as well.
Right. I was just looking at the full-time.
Right.
And I assume the chief won't be part-time.
No.
I assume he's going to be full-time.
Well, you already know what I think, because I sent you an email months ago. And I talked to 2 of you on it, which I think. One, I think you've cut this budget too close to the line just because of what was said. I don't know that you had to go to a higher budget by 4 people, but I think you're really putting a potential monkey on the new chief's back. Second, I think the minute Kevin resigned, you should have calculated when he's going to be replaced, and that should have been no later than November 1, and starting the interviewing process and the hiring in January 1. I find absolutely no reason to wait till July 1. You think you're doing a disservice to current staff. My years as a trustee and a selectman, nobody interviewed for me. I went through every applicant for every job with the people, either my fellow trustees or when we do it down in the office, we went through, I don't care if there were 30 applicants, went through every one of them and rated them ourselves, and we got together, 3 of us or 4 of us, and then whittled them down to what we wanted. I'm not against the public having input, but I don't think it should be a public committee because it's your employee and you're responsible for that person, and how they conduct themselves and what they do is your responsibility. I think it wouldn't hurt if you had a couple citizens join you in the effort, but I really, I've never liked having a committee recommend. That's my 2 cents worth. So that's it.
Anyone else?
Speaker, if I could just comment on Ron's. Ron, if you're back to your question on 3 or 4, if you add in, as Speaker said, the full-time and the part-time, then you add in that overtime and shift differential, that shift differential would almost go away with 4 people. Because it almost covers all the hours.
No, the shift differential never goes away because
Excuse me, the overtime in that shift differential, that overtime part of that. So if you add those 4 together and divide by 4, you come up with a salary of almost $54,000.
The number you're gonna come up with is still a little light if you hire a chief from outside.
It's light to hire a chief, but then the 2 patrolmen don't make, I said it's an average of $55,000 divided by 4. Or $215,000 divided by 4 is $55,000, just under $54,000.
I think.
But wait a minute, let me finish. But the officers that we have now, yeah, the chief, we're advertising for 55 to 65, but that doesn't mean the other 3 are going to get 65 or 55,000. So I think there's money there if we hired, whether within or without. I don't think we're going to blow out the budget come this time next year. That's what I'm just trying to say.
I agree with what people say. I think you squeeze it a little too much considering you don't have this process done yet. That somebody might come in here that walks on water, gotta have him. Ain't gonna work for 55. He might want 85. And you might say, well, we can't afford him. Well, then you gotta make the numbers work from back to promoting from within. Again, which maybe you should have in the beginning, if you have a policy in place that supports that.
But we also are an equal opportunity employer. Bristol is, by federal law, has to be an equal opportunity employer.
I keep bouncing over you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Craig Allen. I just wonder, in general, if the department feels that the budget is adequate to protect the district residents, especially given the tragic situation yesterday with the woman in South Royalton being killed by her estranged husband, and apparently being threatened repeatedly in public, and the court and the police authorities, probably the state police in her case, were totally aware of that. Is it possible for the department to protect someone in that situation who walks in when they're ordered not to be anywhere near this person, probably ordered not to have a firearm, and shoots the person in broad daylight? I'm just curious.
Well, I feel if we had a 6-person department, and there's no way you can give somebody 24/7 protection as much as you want, and I understand that a judge's order to stay away is nothing more than a piece of paper. But I believe that the people we have would do the best that they could to protect an individual that they knew had been threatened. I don't think the numbers, because you just can't put a person there and guard that door 24/7.
I understand, but would the department be able to somehow, I don't know, monitor or have the resources to monitor those kinds of court orders, let's say, and be aware? I know officers, tend to know who's driving, with their license suspended and so on, just because they interact with these folks too often and so on. But I'm just, it's a tough situation. I'm just curious.
I think that maybe would be a good question for Bruce to answer, because he did.
Too many women dying.
He did put forth a 4-person budget, and that didn't happen. So we're looking at a 3-person budget, and so I think that might be a question that we could ask Bruce in light of the fact that he originally asked for 4 people, a 4-person budget. I don't mean to put you on the spot, Bruce, but something tells me that if you asked for it for a reason, and if that gentleman's concern is part of the reason you asked for it, I'd like to know that.
I don't think it was we asked him for a 4-person. He gave us, we asked him to prepare 2 budgets, one as a 3-person and one as a 4-person. Right. And we said to him, if all things were great, what would you want? He said a 4-person. I said, yes, so would we, but do we want the district people to come up with that money to pay for that?
Okay, so it wasn't presented to you as a 4-person budget, it was just a suggestion?
The board gave him that direction. We'd like to see 2 budgets.
Oh.
Status quo, 3-person with part-timers, and then 4-person.
Oh, okay.
4-person
So it
budget
wasn't
with less
necessarily
part-timers.
that the officer in charge felt that this was a way that we should be looking.
It wasn't department-driven. I don't believe it was Selectboard-driven.
Okay, so maybe you don't have to answer that question, Bruce.
Would you care to comment on his question?
Okay, more specifically, what are you looking for? Don't ask the question.
I'm just curious.
We have adequate staffing to handle any calls.
Bruce, use the mic, please.
Sorry. We have adequate staffing to answer calls for service, and if there's a situation that requires more resources, we have the ability to reach out to other law enforcement agencies.
But you would be aware of.
Yes.
Anybody else?
Valerie, to answer your question, or everybody here, when we looked at a 4-person department, we were looking at a 8.5%.
Over 10%.
Over a 10% increase in the police district taxes. And we also looked at each other and went,
After last year's with the big increase and stuff, we just can't ask you anymore, that much more. So did we really want to go? Well, I think if we had our brothers, I wanted to see a 4. Really did, but I just couldn't say, boy, looking over a 10% tax increase again just for, as I said last year, we don't have an expensive police department, we just have a piss poor way of paying for it. There's only 600 users. Check your tax bill, it's the 2nd largest thing after schools.
I think I was under the misconception that it had been presented to you solely as a 4-person and that it had been cut back to a 3-person. So that was my mistake. I misunderstood.
Thank you.
George? Oh, Ken. Go ahead, Ken. George has already had
I'm not a resident of the police district, but I have a question from the townspeople. I noticed in the report that your contract with the town is labeled traffic control, something to that effect. I don't know the exact word. Does that mean that if a call came in from outside the village that had something to do with other than traffic, that you wouldn't respond?
No. They'll respond if the state police request them. That's the state police coverage. What we did, and I think we did it when you were on the board, if I'm not mistaken, is we took the $10,000 that we were paying the sheriff's department, and we gave it to our police department and let them do the contracted patrols, based on, and I'm not sure the exact hours per week that we have them out there, but they spend X amount of hours a week out in the town, and for that service.
Yeah, but my question is, let's say a townsperson called into the police department because there was a problem, and what you're saying is that he'd be told to call the state police before they could respond? Is that what you're saying?
That is correct.
Even if it's an emergency?
If it's an emergency, an officer will start to respond.
If you dial 911, it's going to go to a PSAP, it's going to show your address, that's going to be forwarded to Vermont State Police. If there's a life-threatening situation, I feel that Bristol PD, if they're close by and the VSP know that, and they're not tied up with something, I would hope that they were sent.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I've got two requests, Speaker. If you could speak up a little and turn that shirt down. I'm Chuck Richardson. I am a resident in the police. I have a couple of kids that are cops. My concern is, what's the response time? There's nobody on at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night. You call, you've got either a medical emergency or you've got somebody with mental distress. How long does it take before either the sheriff's department or the state police are here? I know New Haven is in the same shape that Rutland is. They're running 3 and 4 men short all the time. I suspect, after having talked to Randy, that the sheriff's department is a little short-handed right now due to natural causes. What's the response time?
The response time in the district or in?
In the district.
Can you allude to that, Bruce?
Every night, there's somebody scheduled there that there's working. So I'm not sure, in 10 o'clock at night, there's somebody here.
The dispatch procedure is still the same, right? After hours?
After hours, if there's an emergency call, the officer that's on call will be called out and respond. Depending upon where they're coming from, it could be as little as 5 minutes or as much as 20 minutes to a half an hour.
But they're not actually required to be inside the district, are they?
No.
I think the point I'm making is maybe when we're throwing around whether we need another guy or not, whether we should be thinking about the logistical situation. You know, I'd feel really bad if something happened in town some night and for lack of 5 minutes, we had something that we can't fix happen, you know? The other thing that I'd like to make sure that somebody is saying out loud is that none of the guys that we've got now, if the chief is hired from outside, that their paychecks aren't going to be affected.
That was what we spoke about earlier. That is our intent, that they.
We're assured of that.
Yes. That, we hashed this out last meeting and that was the decision that was made, and, you know, we'd have to figure out how we were gonna pay for it. There's no other way, because it was not the board's intent to let somebody go.
Thank you for your time.
Yes.
Speaker, to follow up on that, to follow up on that, if, although you wouldn't let anyone go, but is there a chance that they might see lower income just because they would not have as much overtime? I mean, they'd have the same base pay, but
Yes.
if
Yes.
you're used to living on your overtime, like maybe the road crew, et cetera, you know, it can have an impact.
Well, certainly, but you can't guarantee overtime.
No, I understand.
And so,
But you have to, the nuances of the question,
Right.
Yeah.
I get you.
We got it. George?
How is the merger? Is that with the town? Is that laying dead, or is,
You mean going townwide?
Going townwide.
You mean townwide? Going townwide? No. I wouldn't say it's dead, but we haven't pursued that at this point.
oh, I haven't heard any more about it. So that's it.
Brad?
No.
Brett LaRose, I have a question. I just want to follow up to George's. Does the select board have the authority to make the police department townwide, or does it require a vote?
It requires a vote.
It does require a vote?
Yes.
Okay,
I
thank you.
believe in the merger document in 93 when we took the village and town. I said, I believe the merger document from 93, it states that there'll be a townwide vote to go townwide for police department.
Kevin?
When might we expect a vote? I'd like to see it go townwide. Certainly help me, certainly would alleviate some of Chuck's concerns. The other concerns I heard tonight, one more person on.
Yeah, and the people out in the outer town are saying, no, I don't want an increase in my taxes, so it's a matter of, I think we had a discussion.
I think where we're at is we get our police force steadied up, and then we're gonna look at and revisit that. I just think that we were supposed to get information that was never provided to us before, and this time around, I think things are gonna be different. Ken?
Well, I'd like to speak up for townspeople. I don't think you should jump to the conclusion that all the townspeople are against that situation.
No, I wasn't saying that, I'm just saying.
Well, it sounded a little bit like it.
Anyone else? If nobody's got anything else to say, we will adjourn the hearing and go back to our regular meeting until town meeting starts at 7.
You're still in meetings.
Yeah, so no side.
Still in meetings.
Yes.
Not there.
Maybe you're really gonna have to speak up.
All right, consider approval of resolution of downtown transportation fund grant to assist with the sidewalk project on Main Street. This was something that Therese started, and
Do we ever get it in? We got rejected the first time.
we didn't get it.
So moved.
Second.
Great, well, the resolution's in this folder to be signed.
Let me get through the vote first. Any further discussion? I believe that 50%.
Yes.
Wouldn't mind just keeping voices down for camera, thank you.
So that's a 50% match, just so everybody's aware of that.
And also to follow up on that, the total budget was proposed to be about $265,000, 100,000 from a downtown grant, 2,500 in kind, 32,000 from the town of Bristol cash, and then a revolving loan fund grant or loan of 134,000.
So the 32,000, anticipating that's coming to the sidewalk line?
Probably, or some other transportation capital fund.
I changed my mind on this one. I think we can put $32,000 in sidewalks. The Main Street sidewalks aren't that bad.
It's not the sidewalks, Joel, it's new lights.
The lights in the brick.
Lights. I don't want to use the sidewalk money
Do away
to pay
with
for the
it.
lights.
Right.
Okay? I don't want to, because we got sidewalks that are in terrible shape. Peter didn't take that study and walk it all over to just say, well, we're gonna put 32,000, most of it's gonna be in the lights on Main Street.
Well, that's why we went through the budget, Joel, so that you would understand what you were voting on. I just didn't want it to sail right through. I wanted everybody to be aware of what we were talking about.
That's why I asked, and she said.
And we could, I will look into additional funding sources, other funding
I
sources.
mean, there's probably other grants available
Okay.
that we can use for that, so.
And if we don't, if we can submit it, and if we get awarded, we can still change our mind.
Yeah, figure out, okay.
I also would rather not use the sidewalk.
Oh, I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah.
I think that we have to, that $32,000 can't come out of the sidewalk.
Correct.
Hello,
Any further discussion?
all done.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Reach
nay.
out front.
Motion carried. Pete and Ted.
Thank you.
Approval of minutes from February 19th.
Val, I'm gonna give you my changes for the last 3
Okay,
months.
great. I know the format was a little wonky. Sorry about that.
I had to go there over there.
Does that include, so you made some changes on
On
this one?
yours, on the one you had a
Right.
red line on, so I made my changes on that.
Okay.
I had something on over. Oh, you got a pen?
I got a pen, but it won't write.
Oh. Ted wrote in response to himself. And then he discovered his error.
I could have just signed it. They'd have figured it.
Yeah.
All right, so what's your pleasure with the minutes?
Approve the minutes with the Michelle's corrections.
Second.
Sorry.
I figured Michelle would second. She was good.
Yeah, that was my
Read it.
Any other interjections? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Authorize accounts payable warrants and any liquor licenses.
Usually those special.
Yeah, there's a lot of special
I'll be right back.
gizmos.
Make it.
Want to do it?
I don't know.
Last meeting as chair for a few years.
The liquor license, we just have to
The
sign.
first two, I think, but
I just signed it.
Peeker in the back are the, he's got them all labeled.
Yeah, they're all labeled in the back.
Well, this is just the warrant.
Keep going.
No, it's
okay. Oh, no,
Oh,
wrong
no, it's in
pocket.
that
This
one.
I thought so. I'm not that foolish. I hope.
It was in the back of that.
Okay, I just want to get to the, be the ones with the checks.
You're gonna lose a page.
Yeah.
You fold it over. There you go.
I lost the sticker now.
Yeah.
Application for special event, Shelburne Vineyard, 1868 North 116. It's got to be Mary's.
Mary's, gotta be.
Wine tasting only.
What time and what day?
Friday, March 30th, 2018, 5 to 9 p.m.
One at a time or all?
We have to do special events permits one at a time.
I believe so.
I make a motion that we approve the special events permits for Shelburne Vineyards. Is that right?
Yes.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. This is a liquor license renewal. That's just a
Signature. That's our question.
Everybody's got to sign those.
Just pass them around, Peter, as you come across them.
What about the previous one?
don't sign
We
this.
don't have to sign
there's
that.
no-
Jen signs it.
Maybe I can get my pen to write it. It'll write itself. This one writes nice.
Yeah, make sure you get it back deep.
I had two in my.
That's it.
You almost passed on it out.
Art on Main.
Art on Main.
Art on Main.
This is the one we got 2 weeks ago, I think, that had the wrong date, and it was all messed up.
Date of event 4/19/17, so it's still messed up.
Still messed up.
5 to 8.
4/19 is a Thursday.
True.
Is that really what they're doing?
Could be.
Gonna have to?
Yeah.
Well, not 4/19/2017 is what it says, but yeah, from 5 to 8.
I think we can change it to 18.
I would think they got the date signed as 2/22/17 too.
They must have just pulled something up from last year and changed it or something.
So it's Art on Main, 25 Main Street, at the gallery on 4/19 from 5 to 8.
What is it?
Doesn't.
It doesn't say what they're doing?
No, it doesn't.
Is this a special events group?
Have they changed it? Has Jen called?
Museum or library serving permit.
Yeah, this is the same one they gave us last time. It's not any better.
Not really. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I never noticed it.
Do we have time to move
We have
to
time.
next
Yeah.
meeting?
She's got to do this right.
Yeah.
4/19, that's a Monday.
That's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday night.
So we meet that Monday before that, don't we? And that's in April, not, we meet before that.
Is that the one that was April? Wasn't
Right.
even
Yeah.
specific
Well,
enough.
So it's got to go back.
They were going to do.
Yeah.
Tell them to get it right.
And Jen called her, and she didn't even have the right date on it. I don't think she still does.
It's April 2017.
And she didn't have what it is.
No.
Yeah, that's the same issue
Yeah.
that
I
we
think
had
it's the
last
same
time.
document. What was the posted on?
If I can,
Chamber of Commerce event, mixer to be held at Art on Main.
It's the same one.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't tell what they're serving.
No.
Don't we need to know?
Looks like they just
Yeah, we can't just approve it
they
without
just
knowing what they're
resubmitted
doing.
the same man.
Yeah.
No, they didn't resubmit it.
It's got to be something.
Jen just put the note on there for the information.
So that Art on Main one is still
Yeah.
it's no different than the last.
It's still not specific enough and the date is wrong.
This and rest are just
You got a rest of it? Mine doesn't.
Yours is still sitting at home.
Sitting over the truck. My pen. Or it's out back with all of, I had to bring a whole bunch of Addison County Solid Waste District surveys.
This is just changed. There's 2
Yes. Or the town clerk needs to. Got the picture.
That speaker's full.
Massachusetts, I don't need to talk to you. Oh, I know who it is. Maybe I should.
It's not one of those, your credit card is in trouble?
No, it's some steel that I ordered.
I had one of those calls where it came up on the TV, I was sitting at the TV. It was that week, that couple of days I was home asleep. And
I missed the first one, Michelle.
I'm just gonna keep them on a pile and go back to it.
So I picked it up, so Tommy bought it. I'm like,
Legion, I guess, right? Signed it.
Local numbers.
I guess that's it, eh?
You got them all. That one, that one doesn't work.
That one don't want to write. It kills your pen.
I got you another one. Yeah. Here's your one with the binder.
Here's got the sign here.
Lots of cigarettes in it. Sherry.
Cherry.
That one's purely on the backside.
Yes.
The wireless are not. Oh.
I'm not sure about that one.
There's a one that's tagged that we have.
Yeah, but I think it might be just for the clerk's signature.
It's a liquor license renewal application.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, only Ted has to sign it.
Okay.
Whoever valid is at this point.
Because there's a whole section for approval.
Yeah, that's what I said. I wasn't sure if we were supposed to.
Valid sign it.
Yeah. Did we miss one?
Yeah.
That was a liquor
So
license.
it's looking like.
So this, I turned all this. Yeah, you have to press.
This is the top one.
I missed it.
Yeah, they're in the shop. I'm dying. That makes it down for the last 3 days. Next 1 day, you got them down. No, I wanted necessary plastic to take the glass out. I wasn't going to do it. Okay. They've got the, well, it's tempered glass, but they have the big suction pads for doing it.
And got the rack on the side of the truck and put it right there.
No, we stored them inside the building.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
So they approved. This one here, we need more than that. She's going to say what it is. It says the 17th, or 17th. want to do the banner now? Do we have an executive session?
We should, the Woodland Apartment.
Do you want to do the banner right now, or do you want to transition up there?
What time is it?
10 up.
We have time to do executive session done or not?
No,
Not now.
no. But the banner we do.
Yeah.
So
Does anybody have a select board?
the banner is from the Bristol Economical Group. They want to hang it on across from the post office from March 26th to April 2nd for Waste Hill Telecom will erect and dismantle. And the purpose is for Good Friday economical service.
And that was 4/2 or 4/20?
March 26th to April 2nd.
April 2nd.
I make a motion to allow banner be on.
A second.
Is this it's a church banner?
It's a church banner.
Right, all three churches.
It's all three churches?
I imagine.
Bristol Economic Group.
Okay, so it is all three churches, okay. All right, any further discussion?
And they know that it's up to them to hire somebody.
Yeah, Wastefield Telecom.
Oh, okay, good.
I just worry about the fallout.
Church and state.
Well, just people in general.
Well,
Whatever comes to religious things.
well, that's our job. We gotta do somebody.
We allow the
I know, the
sandwich
activities.
board on the park for the
Good Friday, yeah.
and if this covers all three churches, I don't see how we can.
Well, we let the Catholic Church do their thing on the park.
Yeah, we let him do that.
Just a quick question about it. Do they have insurance on it? If that banner,
I don't know.
have we ever required it?
On the banner?
Yeah. If a banner falls on a car and causes an accident, yeah.
I would think that Waitsfield Champlain Valley Telecom is going to be the one liable. They wouldn't put it up.
Yeah, they wouldn't put it up if
Or our
they didn't think
cable
it was going to
or our
stay.
cable person.
Or if their cable.
It's their cable, okay.
We don't own that cable.
Okay.
Further discussion?